Before we start this review, I just want to say Maika Monroe is totally a fusion of Keira Knightley and Amber Heard. It's like if they did the Dragon Ball Z thing, you know, and I love her. What's up, guys? Welcome to a review of It Follows, the new indie horror movie that's been getting a lot of positive buzz, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's been talking awesomely about this movie. It finally came to our town and we finally had the chance to see it.
You know, we haven't reviewed a movie in about a week. We were going to go see Detergent, but no. Instead, we watched this one. We thought it was going to be a much better use of our time. It Follows stars the main character from The Guest. If y'all have seen The Guest.
If you've seen The Guest, you've seen this girl, Maika Monroe. She's the main girl in this movie. And just on a quick note, if you haven't seen The Guest, it's a very underrated movie from last year. It's like a mix between Halloween, First Blood, and Drive. And this girl is amazing in that movie, and she's amazing in this movie too.
We really enjoyed this movie. You know, we weren't surprised because we kind of went to see it because of the buzz that it was getting.
Yeah.
It's a very good horror movie.
It's made how a horror movie is supposed to be. The movie relies on music, camera tricks, on the ambience of the movie. It relies on all that to create tension. Not like shitty horror movies nowadays that come out and it's just scary because it's a loud sound. We went to this movie totally blank. Yeah. You don't need to know anything else, okay? Let's just say something follows people and it's scary.
Revealing anything else would kind of reveal too much.
Going back to the way this movie creates tension. For example, there will be parts of the movie where you will have two characters having a conversation and the camera will pan out to a window. And you'll be like, oh shit, something's gonna happen, right? But then nothing happens. It kind of reminded me of that scene on Prisoners, kind of at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. They're just focusing on a tree and the music keeps getting louder and louder and louder. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And then it cuts out to the characters again, and it really helped to create tension. The music is amazing.
Kind of reminded me of the Blade Runner movie, you know, a lot of cascading, big, grand kind of synth stuff, but then also, that's why it kind of reminded us a lot of The Guest, because The Guest has a lot of that type of music too in it.
Another thing that you can really appreciate in this movie that's been lacking in current horror movies is that when the characters are having conversations, it feels like conversations you know teenagers would have in real life.
Yeah, and they're all real young actors. I don't think any of them are over 25. And they were in a scene together. You really got the feeling they were all, you know, really good friends, and it didn't seem forced. A lot of horror movies, it's just, you know, they got a group of people together. Their only purpose in the movie is to get killed.
Yeah.
You could really see that they were all very good actors, and that was refreshing for a little low-budget horror movie.
I think it's awesome how this movie takes the classic setting of classic horror movie. Girl in this shitty town with her friends, and they're at school, and then, you know, something starts happening. It turns that into something original.
They said they were like in the suburbs of Detroit, I think. But in the movie, they were like driving somewhere, and I turned to them and I was like, oh, well, that looks like where we live. Which we don't live anywhere near Detroit, but the point is it looked like a place you could go there.
It makes you feel like it could be any town.
Yeah, even like the year or whatever didn't really seem like a certain year, you know, because they had like old cars and old clothes, but then the girl had a cell phone. This movie seemed like took place out of time.
There's also a lot of throwbacks to classic horror movies here. There were scenes where it felt like classic Universal Monsters movie where you have the cemetery and the fog, when the movies were all about the ambience, and there's a lot of that in this movie. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but the way the movie lets you know about the character's past without having it on the dialogue.
Yeah, the exposition was very organic. It was all done like through conversations nonchalantly, or like with pictures in the background or something. You kind of had to figure it out on your own.
This type of horror movie is what the studio should be backing up. Because, you know, it seems that every few years Hollywood stays in like a trend of horror movies for like several years, and then they change into another trend. Like a few years back we had like Saw 100. I guess
we had the paranormals.
Now like after that it was the freaking handheld camera trend. Now it seems like the new trend is after the success of The Conjuring of Insidious, we're getting the whole haunted house thing again. Somehow. It seems like always a good horror movie comes out and then Hollywood just repeats the same movie like a million times or in a shitty way. And this type of movies is the type of movies like people should go watch if you like horror. I mean, last year we had The Guest and we had The Babadook. Almost no one saw it. Almost no one knew that it existed. And you know, people are always complaining why horror movies are in such a shitty state. You know why? Because people go see the wrong type of horror movies.
Yeah, man. And this movie, when we saw this movie, there was only like 20 people in there, including us.
And I guarantee you that on Unfriended, there's gonna be like a zillion people there when that movie comes out.
Yeah, you know.
And the movie, I mean, come on. Do you really think it's gonna be good?
Yeah, it's gonna make like $1 billion but it's gonna be like the shittiest movie of the year.
It's the studio's fault and the people's fault.
Studios keep greenlighting them and people keep watching them.
It's like freaking Transformers, man. Like, people always complain about how shitty those movies are.
But then they go fucking watch them.
Yeah, they still go watch them and make $1 zillion. So that's why horror movies are shit today. Because no one watches the movies that you're supposed to watch, you're supposed to support. So support this movie. And if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of movies in general, you have to see this movie, okay?
Yeah, because it was like a tribute, but it was also original.
Be warned, this is not your typical horror movie in the sense that you're not gonna see a lot of gore, you're not gonna see a lot of jump scares. There aren't even monsters in this movie. It's all about creating tension and making an original story. We need to talk about how deep it is. I love when horror movies do this. Like, kind of like how The Babadook did it.
Yeah.
You know, in the surface, it's about something. The whole movie, it's just a message. It's just trying to say something the same way Babadook was a metaphor. It's a very good movie. We liked it a lot, as you can tell.
I don't really have, much bad to say about it. It was paced very well. All the performances were really good. The only thing I really have is that you could tell that it was maybe shot with like maybe a cheaper camera. Maybe it was a theater. I'm not really sure. But when we saw it, because there's a lot of like tracking shots and there's a lot of very wide pans and trucks. But every time it would pan or truck or tilt or whatever, everything would kind of blur and go out of focus. And I thought that was really weird because most of the time it's the shots were really well done, but then when the camera was moving, it was super blurry. So I don't know if that was maybe the theater we were in or maybe it was the cheap camera, but that was the only thing that was a little distracting.
So overall, you need to go see it. If you're a fan of movies or horror movies in general, go see this movie. You're gonna have a great time, I guarantee it. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 seashell phones out of 5.
Yeah, me too. 4.5 seashell shones out of 5. Seashell shones out of 5. You won't be disappointed. It's very good. This is Victor and Jose. As always, rate, comment, subscribe. Go like our Twitter, Facebook. Reinventing the Real. We'll see you next time.
Mike Monroe, please marry me.
Mike Monroe.